If you or I got arrested for something we didn't do, and all of a sudden the cops showed up and plucked you out of your life, and threw you in a car, took you downtown, threw you in a cell, I think you'd have that same feeling. There would be this overwhelming sense of what the, your routine would be off, all of a sudden all these things would be different. Now on top of that, dogs' senses are very sensitive to their environment. So they're going to go into a shelter that is incredibly loud. The decibel level in shelters is damaging to humans. And so their ears are even more sensitive. I think that overwhelms them. And then their nose, being their primary way in which they kind of see the world, gets incredibly overwhelmed with the smell of what the other dogs are going through. So it's almost like, feeling the stress of a hospital. They go in and they feel what all the dogs are going through. They smell it. They hear it. Their world has been turned upside down, and I think it just hammers them. I think you can see it on them. You can sense it if you go in there and you know what to look for, and you open your emotions up. I mean, they are in a state of shock. When a dog meets a family for the first time, they're going to try to figure out the same thing that you or I would try to figure out if we moved in with a new family. But they're going to do it in a different way. They're going to try to figure out where they fit in. And they're going to try to figure out what is expected. What are the rules? What should I be doing, so to speak? But a way a dog goes about that is different than the way we do it. A dog is trying to get a sense of your emotional energy. Dogs are looking, for the hierarchy in life, and the way they determine that is the way we feel, and the way we act, and the way we interact with them. And so they're trying to get a sense of what they need to be doing, because that's like the first thing in a dog's, the first priority of a dog is to figure out what is going to be needed of me. So that's how they try to figure it out. The human tries to figure it out by making friends. And there's almost always a lot of excitement in the first greeting with the dog, a lot of emotional excitement, a lot of physical excitement, a lot of energy. And so that can kind of throw a smokescreen, because the dog is very quickly trying to figure things out, but you're not really truly being yourself. You're being this extreme version. And then so a dog can kind of come in and quickly take over. And that's where the problems come from, if you will, is that the first greeting like that can be a little bit overdone. And a dog gets the wrong sense of who you are. But it's, that, like that adage says, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And that's what happens here. I can personally relate to the animals that go through the rescue process, if you will, because I feel like growing up I was never really understood. I feel like I was a pretty misunderstood kid. I was pretty anxious. I felt like I saw the world from out here, which is why I'm so behaviorally adept now, because I'm an observer. I see a lot of that same kind of confusion in dogs, and where they feel like they don't fit in is that we humanize them. And so we bring them into a human world, and instead of getting to know them like a dog, we impose the human world. And I think a lot of dogs spend a great deal of time feeling misunderstood. And one thing I'm able to do for my clients and for their dogs is to bring clarity, to teach them that, hey, no, that's not what you think, it's this. This is what your dog needs. That makes me feel good, because it would have been great to have somebody come along early in life and stand over my shoulder and make things clear all the time. So I relate in that process, and as a result I've been able to use the methods I help my dogs with and help other people's dogs to help myself. Slow it down. The mistakes I made were many. I really made all the mistakes that you or any of my clients or anybody that has a dog that has behavior issues makes. For starters, I moved really quick, meaning I always wanted more than the dog was able or willing or capable to give me. And so that meant my expectations were a little bit out of whack. Even when I started doing this professionally, I would want more than I should have asked for during a consultation. I'd try to impress the client one more time, type of thing. And by doing that, by driving the consultation through my goals that way, the dogs would respond by resisting. And so, if you learn how to listen to the dogs, they're going to teach you what you're doing right and wrong. You're moving too quick. I'm putting on the brakes, man, slow down. If you go in and force the dog because they're not following your agenda, this cycle perpetuates itself. So really, what I learned is that I have to slow everything down, not only with the dogs, but in life. I'm quick, I'm animated, but it has a place. And the dogs need you to understand there's a time and a place that you have to be balanced, and there's a time and a place you can be fun and out of control. When a dog leaves a shelter, there's a lot of issues that can come from adapting to a new family. And I think the biggest issue when a dog first comes into a new family is trying to figure out where they fit in and what is expected of them. Because dogs are so socially motivated and driven that every family is a new pack. And the introduction is an important part of a social community. So when a dog first comes in, they're trying to figure out, what am I going to be doing? What do you need me for? On the scale of the 4 people I just met, do I fit here? Do I fit here? And so I think early on, a dog is just simply trying to figure that out. Now the past of that dog can really dictate how well that works. If a dog had a social background, lived with a family, was well socialized, that can be a really easy adjustment. But if the dog, let's say, was unsocialized, had abuse, neglect, a bad past, didn't meet people, other animals, that adjustment period can be very difficult. And in that adjustment period, oftentimes the patterns are starting to get laid down for future behavior problems. And that ends up being really the biggest issue. And the biggest obstacle is educating people that you need to do things early on. The moment you meet the dog, there's things you can do that are going to make or break the situation. First-time adopters make a lot of mistakes, but I see a couple that really have long-term consequences. The first one being that they adopt a dog out of emotion, meaning they're bored at work, they get on a website, somebody talks them into going to a shelter, and there's this knee-jerk reaction after looking at this dog to, boom, adopting it. And what that does is usually leads to the wrong fit. You didn't do your homework. You didn't really feel out the match. You didn't go, okay, I have this many hours a day to give a dog, and this dog needs this many hours a day to be healthy and well-behaved. That is the biggest mistake. But once a dog is adopted, the second biggest mistake that's made is that the humans linger in the past. More often than not, I'll get phone calls from people that identify their dog as a rescue dog or a shelter dog, but they'll refer to the bred dog or the dog from the breeder as just a dog. So what happens is we emotionally get stuck in this weird spot where we like to hang on to the story. The worse the story, the more it's told. A lot of people introduce their dog with the story. And what that does is it makes people react to the dog with sympathy or pity or whatever it is, and the dog goes, what's up? Because every time somebody goes, oh, the dog's trying to figure out, what's up? What's the matter with you? And in doing that, he gets a wrong sense of people. It would kind of be like if I introduced my wife to everybody as, hey, this is Jennifer. She has an eating disorder. Don't stare at her. She may pee on herself. She's not going to eat very much. She's a little bit nervous. Just ignore her. And if you do that, it's going to make her look at you like, whoa, what's the matter? And so this pattern or cycle gets developed. And then the third greatest mistake that adopters make is that they do the introduction wrong. The first 24 hours of a dog and the human relationship is really setting the tone for the next 10 years. And so I try to teach and educate my rescues that you have a clean slate, so to speak. If in the first 24 hours you meet the dog in a proper way and you give the dog what they need, you literally can reverse course on any bad behavior or anything that dog has dealt with in the past. If you get stuck and you meet the dog with excitement and you look at their past, in the first 24 hours you have basically met a dog and through the emotional excitement and pity told them that you are not fit to lead. And that dog, from the first moment they meet you, will take over your life. Even if they are not fit, even if they're Rusty who fell in the ditch and got covered in ants and broke his leg and obviously isn't fit to lead, they'll lead. That right there can have long-term, I mean years worth of behavioral consequences. And those are the 3 mistakes that all adopters, I think, make. Gets their joy and bonds with a pet in different ways. To me, what I get a great deal of joy out of is the rehabilitation factor, meaning that, I can take a dog from an incredibly bad spot of either fear or aggression or dominance or anxiety, and I can bring them to this happy, balanced spot. I got 3 dogs sleeping at my feet right now that at one time all had issues. And this is what I mean, is that this to me brings me a great deal of joy because the bond I created with these guys was in helping them. Well, let's say I brought a puppy into the house. Well, I don't have to help them so much as, just make sure that they know what's going on. And the joy that comes from that is in watching them grow, just like my little girl. I get a great deal of joy out of watching something grow and develop and move forward in a positive way, because what happens is they bring that positive energy back to you. And when they share that with you, you melt. You really, really do. And so the relationship has all these positive factors to it. So I get a wonderful amount of joy from helping animals develop and move forward from their past. Well, in doing that, I've also given their owners a great deal of joy. You know, and so that, to me, based on what I get to do, is its own reward as well. So helping them out. Now, what I've also learned to do is get a great deal of joy by playing with my dogs, because I do a lot of fun things. I'll take my dogs on a run, golf cart, rollerblades. I've even golfed with a couple of my dogs, taken them fishing. Anything fun, surfing, believe it or not, anything fun I like to do, I like to take my dogs with me and do a little bit, because dogs get a lot of enjoyment out of doing those type of things with us. It's more fun than just going for a walk and being fed, watching TV. The potential of a human-animal relationship, I think, is immeasurable. The give inside, science has already done. You know, science has proven that dogs lower stress, which in and of itself can improve your health in many different ways. You know, dogs are used to help us in guided situations, seeing eye dogs and so forth. That's easy. Everybody can see that. You know, there's another element to the human-dog relationship that I see every day, and this is the side that I think if we tap into, we can improve everything. Not only our dog's behavior, but our own lives. Because dogs really are like a personal litmus test to how you live your life. Every day, I come into people's homes and I'm there to help them with their dog, but ultimately what I'm doing is I'm helping them with themselves. I'm helping them see things from a different perspective, from an objective perspective. Dogs are only following a calm emotional energy, and very few people have a natural calm emotional energy. We live our lives in such polar areas that dogs don't know what to make of it. What they do know is that they don't want to follow us when things get heated. So what I teach people is how to understand that the way you project your emotions and the way you carry yourself and the way you move has an emotional message, and it's really how we communicate. And if you know how to start to identify your strengths and recognize your weaknesses, you can start to bring balance to how you interact, first with your dog. From there, what happens is you learn how to do this in other areas. I get phone calls all the time from people who are able to improve their dog, and then they happen to mention, oh my gosh, my kids are listening better. Well, yeah, it's the same thing. If you scream at a child, you've blocked the message you're trying to send. They may stop what they're doing, but they haven't listened to you. Well, the same thing applies to a dog. And you're going to operate in patterns. If you yell at your dog, I'm guessing, and I'm going to see it while I'm there, you're going to have a short fuse with the child, or you're going to have a short fuse with the husband. You're going to have, socially, short fuses. You'll see it. You'll see the patterns. And really, that's where I think dogs have the greatest gift. They can show us every day how to improve our lives. Right in front of us. You know, I think everybody can benefit from adopting a pet. I don't think there's anybody who can't, unless you adopt a pet for the wrong reason. I think if you adopt a pet for something selfish, I think if you go adopt a Chihuahua because everybody's adopted Chihuahuas and it's the end thing, I think that is a time that, no, it's not a good idea. But if you're looking to bring an animal into your life to enrich your life and in return enrich theirs, everybody deserves a pet. And it doesn't matter if it's a rabbit, a horse, or a guinea pig. If you're drawn to an animal and that animal can bring something to your life and in return you can benefit that animal, absolutely. Their own unique set of challenges. Not all dogs are fit to be around kids, and not all kids are fit to be around dogs. So as a mom, you would want to ask yourself a couple of questions. The first question I would ask you is, how old are your kids? If they're really young, I'm definitely going to steer you in a certain direction in your adoption pool. I'm going to steer you into a direction of dogs that I believe are going to come naturally a little bit more calm, a little bit more relaxed, that are going to need less work from you, because young kids are going to need a ton of your attention. And bringing in a young puppy or a very young dog, although it seems like a good idea, on paper, it's a lot more work than most people realize, and it's why a lot of 10, 11, 12-month-old dogs are in shelters, because it's at that point that they're just almost uncontrollable. And with kids, when they meet, when excited kids and excited dogs meet, it's like fire. And so you really want to take a peek at your life and go, okay, what's my lifestyle like? My kids are young. I would go with an older dog. If you have older kids, you're your kids have some responsibilities, you know, that they're already demonstrating to you that they can be responsible with things through time, it opens it up a little bit. So what you would do is you would then go, okay, this is who my family is, and you start to go from there. The less time you have, you want to pick a dog that has less needs. The more time you have, your pool opens up because you can spend more of your time working with the dog. That's where I would start. The rural Maine part is good because it means you probably have space. Space is always a benefit, but it's not the end all. You know, somebody living in an apartment in New York can do just as good a job exercising a dog as somebody that lives in rural Maine. And believe it or not, a big backyard is not always the answer to happy dogs. They like to move forward on walks just as much, if not more. Go after delivery people and mail people. And go crazy at the front door all the time. You know, I've been doing this for a while, and I've been doing countless consultations, well over 1,000, and easily the door is one of the greatest hot button topics for all dog owners. And the reason is always the same. It has to do with the way the human answers the door. You have to understand dogs lead or follow. And if a dog, for one reason or another, thinks they are in charge of your household, it's their responsibility to go to the front door. It'd be like if you have a daughter, or you're a husband, or you're the head of the household, and somebody knocks on the door at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. You go answer the door. If you send your daughter, she's going to be too overreactive, so to speak. She's not going to have the right confidence you as the pack leader do. Well, if your dog is busting in front of you and going to get to the door, they're communicating a lack of trust in how you'll answer the door. Well, now to you, your dog isn't listening. It's like, you know, we amp it up, or we get apathetic and quit. I've seen some people just let their dog do whatever they want to do. Well, both of those energies communicate to the dog our lack of control. So to them, they then take further control, which upsets the human even more. And this pattern gets going very quickly. And you'll see it in almost every home, because humans don't behave in balanced ways. And the dogs are demonstrating that. To get control, hook a leash on your dog, walk to the door when your dog is barking, grab the leash, turn around, don't say a word, act as calm and as mellow as if you have all day, walk them about 10 or 15 feet away, hook that leash to like a couch, tie it to a couch, something heavy, and go answer the door. Practice this about 5 or 10 times. After you do that a few times, you'll be able to start to walk the dog over and you won't have to tie him up. And they're going to start to get used to the fact that, oh, this is what you want. You've heard me say throughout this interview, clarity. Dogs need to understand clarity. Dogs don't understand what we want because we communicate poorly. You have to pretend you're helping a deaf person who can't speak or read lips. They can't read or write. And you've got to teach them what you want. How would you teach them how to go to the front door? You would have to walk them through each individual step. And they're going to have to understand how they're doing based on your emotional vibe to them. Am I getting hot? Am I getting cold? So if your energy gets bad, whoa, they're going to think they're doing it wrong, and they're going to do something different. See what I mean? So it's the same thing. That's how you have to approach your dog, through guidance. They go for the mailman because every day the mailman comes, they bark, and the mailman leaves. They think they've chased them away. Job well done. It reinforces itself. So you deal with both behaviors different. You know what? I understand why somebody would hate leaving their dog inside, but tying a dog up outside for any length of time is terribly detrimental to that dog's health. For short periods of time, it's okay. It's actually structure. There's a benefit to the structure of having a dog attached to something. But only for short periods of time. Most states now have laws that don't allow you to tie a dog up. It usually leads to frustrated type behaviors. If a dog has a chance to see a cat or another dog or something that creates an amped energy, but it can't get to it through time, what happens is when it finally can get to it, it'll release all that energy all at once. So dead cat, dead squirrel, over-aggressive towards people or dogs. And that is why you just never want to tie a dog up for long periods of time. You know, it's real common for people to go into the wanting to get a dog and first start with wanting to go to a breeder. And it's understandable. I was in that too. I mean, I was that. I did that. I bought a dog from a breeder the first go-around, and look what I do for a living. You know, the main reason I tell people to go the shelter route is you're saving a life. The dog is the same. You're going to benefit. You know, you're going to get the same love, the same fulfillment, all the same stuff from having a dog. But you get to benefit from saving a life. I unfortunately get emails every single day from rescues, from puppies to adult dogs. Every day, dozens and dozens of dogs that need homes. And these are dogs that are going to be put to sleep. And it's very difficult to go through these emails because, you know, I understand that for every dog that's on there, there's a dog that's being purchased. So these dogs won't find a home. And that's why you want to rescue a dog, man. It feels so good. You get something in your heart that doesn't come from buying a dog. Trust me, I know. I've done both. And you got to adopt.